I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we are taking a look at a novel, a work of historical fiction that will transport you back to another time, another age. It is a story as timeless as the city of Athens itself. The name of the book is Pericles and Aspasia, a story of ancient Greece. It is written by Yvonne Korshak. It is a delightful read. You'll learn a lot about ancient Greece. You'll learn a lot about these two very real characters in history, and you will just enjoy the ride as you read along. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Always a pleasure.
This is a great book. What inspired you to write about Pericles and Aspasia?
The period is so brilliant. If you think about the night sky with lots of little brilliant stars, if all those stars represent some wonderful human achievement, some great moment in human history, every once in a while there's a comet, and it lights up the whole sky. And Athens, in the Golden Age, when Pericles was the great leader of the Athenian democracy, and Aspasia was his consort, his courtesan, that was a comet. So it's the brilliance of the period that drew me to it.
Tell the folks at home what your story is a little bit about, the love story between Pericles and Aspasia.
Oh, well, Aspasia comes to Athens with nothing. In fact, in my book, she's literally escapes from a pirate ship and is thrown up upon Athenian shores with destitute. And yet, through her smarts, her charm, her intelligence, and the luck of the game, she encounters Pericles, who's leader of the Athenian democracy. When they meet, she's at the bottom and he's at the top. And yet, he is so thrilled by her intelligence and her wit and her charm and her education, because this was a period where women did not ordinarily receive any educations. Many of them, most of them, didn't even read and write. And Aspasia, her father had been a philosopher, was educated. Pericles, a lover of knowledge, fell in love with Aspasia, and he actually divorced his citizen wife in order to live and be with Aspasia as if she were his wife. So their love really transcends social sanctions and endures. It endures in spite the grave threats it provides to Pericles' stature as a leader. He wants to be the top, and yet he doesn't let his fear of seeming undignified or doing the wrong thing interfere to fulfill his love for Aspasia. That's the love story.
It's an amazing story. It's kind of a classic story where a man is willing to sacrifice anything and everything in order to get his one true love. Aspasia was a different type of character, though. She's a very strong woman as well.
Yes, and that also attracted me to the subject. She's one of the most influential women of all antiquity. Perhaps Queen Hatshepsut, who ruled in Egypt for a while, is her only rival. She's independent-minded. As I mentioned, she's intelligent, she's witty, but she's also womanly. And her a central goal, not her only central goal, is to enhance Pericles' life and be the comfort for him amidst all the turmoil that his political activities raise. But she has another great goal in life, because she has a child. She bears a child with Pericles called young Pericles. And the child is not a citizen of Athens, because the Athenians were very jealous of their citizenship. And so to be a citizen, you had to be born of a citizen mother and a citizen father. And Aspasia had come from across the sea. She was Greek, but she was not Athenian. And so the desire for legitimacy for her son, for belonging for herself, to go from this really ragged first beginning in Athens, tossed up on the shores, to becoming a person of stature and belonging. These are some of the things that drive Aspasia, as I should say, as well as her deep love and appreciation for Pericles.
And you seem to have a deep love and appreciation for Greece, modern day Greece, ancient Greece. Tell me a little bit about how you formed this body of knowledge, not only about these two lovers, but also about the region.
I got bitten by a bug at a very early age, ninth grade ancient history. I read about ancient Greece for a report that I had to write. I fell in love with Pericles. He had made a great oration in which he fundamentally outlines the ideals of democracy that we are still living with today. We don't always realize it anymore because classical Greece is not as much to the forefront of our thoughts generally as it used to be. But when we engage, for instance, as today, in debates about democracy, that word, that ideal is embedded, I must say, and this is no exaggeration, in the thinking of Pericles. He shaped an Athenian democracy, and we're still, in a sense, living out his ideals.
Absolutely. The great thinkers, the great philosophers of ancient Greece, their contributions can't be overstated because, like you said, we live their ideals every day.
We do. And not only in the democracy, the origin of democracy is powerful, but it was a period of the greatest sculptor who ever lived, Phidias. His only possible rival is Michelangelo. It was a period of great philosophy. Socrates walked the streets of Athens barefoot, as we're told, in these very days. If you think about it, there are 4 outstandingly great playwrights through Western culture: Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, and Shakespeare. 3 of them lived in this time. So in philosophy, in sculpture, in architecture, it was the time when history, the idea of writing history, was invented. You have, just as democracy, you have to go to the roots of democracy in ancient Greece. History was first written by the classical Greeks in the Periclean period, the Golden Age. It's actually called the Periclean period because he was so dominant, a thinker and a mover, both a thinker and a mover. That's what Aspasia figures out about him. Some people, she figures, are great thinkers. Some people are great doers. Pericles combines the two, and that's part of his power.
This must have been a delightful journey for you, writing this book, living in that space for the time it took you to write it.
That's why I wrote the book. I wanted to live there.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people bitten by that bug. There are many, many people, some of your listeners, I'm sure, who have been to Athens or have thought about going to Athens. I wrote the book so that we, myself, but others who want to walk those streets, meet Socrates, listen to Pericles' great orations in the assembly, and be a part of that brilliant world. I wrote the book for us. I wrote it for myself. I wanted to be there. I hope others, I know, I don't have to hope. I know others want to be there too.
Absolutely. You have journeyed to all of these locales in Greece that you talk about.
Yes, I have. I went to Miletus in East Greece. Today it's Turkey, where Aspasia was born. I went up to the Black Sea because I wanted to see just how rough it is when Pericles takes 50 ships across the Black Sea, 50 ships on oars. How does he keep that armada together? I went to look. I have sailed across the Aegean in order to get the feeling of moving from island to island across that great Aegean Sea, which is an offspring of the Mediterranean. My heart rests on the Acropolis in Athens. and the great temple to Athena that Pericles essentially made happen, though it was constructed by Phidias, the great sculptor and a great architect at Titus. My heart is never far from there. Athens, the agora with its vibrant buying and selling, the high holy hill, the Acropolis. May all your listeners have an opportunity to climb that hill as I have and stand in that place. And although today it is partly in ruins, it's there, you see it, but it's not as it was in Pericles' day. When I look at it, it's as if it is miraculously constructed as it was. That's how I see it. And that's how I try to see it in the book for my readers.
Wonderful. Well, you've got me wanting to get a few more stamps on my passport, that's for sure. And we can tell this is a labor of love because you've brought this story to life. The name of the book is Pericles and Aspasia, a story of ancient Greece. It is historical fiction. It is based on fact. Yvonne Korshak has traveled to all of these beautiful places on the other side of the Atlantic, and it is just an amazing land to explore, and I highly recommend this book. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Well, thank you, Logan. It's been a great pleasure.
My pleasure. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.